This is the 5 a.m. Miracle, episode number 497, Thriving Health, Overcoming Inflammation and Aging with Dr. Shivani Gupta. Good morning, and welcome to the 5 a.m. Miracle. I am Jeff Sanders, and this is the podcast dedicated to dominating your day before breakfast. My goal is to help you bounce out of bed with enthusiasm, create powerful, lifelong habits, and tackle your grandest goals with extraordinary energy. In the episode this week, I speak with Dr. Shivani Gupta, and we discuss the challenges of aging, how inflammation is the canary in the coal mine and must be addressed, and the power we have today to fight back. Let's get to it. All right, welcome back to the 5A Miracle Studios, and here today I have my lovely repeat guest, Dr. Shivani Gupta. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is, I think, your third time on the podcast, and I love having you on the show because you've got lots of, I think, a unique kind of expertise here, lots of information that it's not in my world normally to talk about these topics, Ayurveda, inflammation, kind of this natural therapeutic methods that you are, well-versed in. And so I definitely want to dig into all of that today with a deeper dive into this topic of inflammation, which is why you're here today. And it's a topic that I know is extremely important for all of our health and our lifestyles, but especially those people who are the high achievers who listen to this podcast, who are burning the candle at both ends, those people who are, we're ambitious, we want to do big things, but because of that, we end up causing a lot of problems along the way. So Shivani, walk us through kind of inflammation. What is it? Why is it bad? How can we fix it? Let's dig into that real deep now.
Sure. So inflammation, we're now understanding, is the root cause of disease. It's the root cause of all the metabolic diseases. And so we keep hearing when we go to the doctor, oh, you have gastritis, colitis, you have arthritis, bursitis, any of the itises. And anytime a specialist or subspecialist says you have something itis ending at the end, that just means inflammation in that part of the body. And so the awareness I like to bring is if we have so many itises cropping up, or if we're starting to feel a lot of the symptoms of aging, this is just an indication of inflammation. And so one analogy I give is imagine if there was a forest fire and it was off in some faraway forest and you didn't hear about it until it was a huge, blazing, loud fire and affecting property and people's homes. Then all of a sudden you would go address it. But by the time that happens, we're so advanced in the stages of destruction and what it's doing, it's much harder to get it under control. It's harder to get it tamed down to where we need it to be. And we could have stopped that forest fire much earlier if we had the awareness. And another example I like to give is imagine if you have a beautiful premium luxury car you're driving. Let's say you're driving a Maserati, and then all of a sudden you put the wrong kind of gas in it. Putting that wrong kind of gas in that car is just going to destroy it from the inside. And oftentimes there's so many habits we have, and we're inadvertently destroying our bodies from the inside, causing this inflammation. And that inflammation is becoming chronic, low grade, and persistent. And because it's persistent like that, it's causing damage everywhere. And only when it gets really loud do we go address it. And when I say loud, I mean when we get diagnosed with diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all the big serious diseases that people used to get diagnosed with in their 60s and 70s. And now it happens in their 40s and 50s. So growing up, I saw that happen in my family. And I thought, wow, I'm going to be this successful entrepreneur. But in the end, that's the price I have to pay. I'm not okay with that. So I have to go find a solution for it.
I mean, obviously getting a diagnosis that's scary would be a nice kind of, an alert to say, okay, there's been a problem building for a long time. But you mentioned this idea that if we feel the symptoms of aging, that might be kind of the early signs. Are there other things we're looking for here to notice that we have this problem already?
Yes. So we have a term called Inflammageing. And I love that term because oftentimes people around me, as they're in their 40s and 50s, they're like, I have all these aches and pains. I wake up and my joints are stiff. I don't feel the same. I get tired more easily. Somehow everything I eat is making me feel bloated or not well. I don't know what I can eat. So I'll just eat whatever I want because I can't win at this. So there's a lot of signals that the body starts to give us. Anytime we get swollen, anything turning red or feverish, that's all inflammation in the body. But a lot of times people say, oh, this is just aging. And the minute you say that to yourself, I want you to replace the word aging with inflammaging and think, whoa, okay, I'm complaining about this, but do I have control over fixing the cause? And we do. We have so many opportunities when it comes to inflammation. And the other thing I want people to know is there's so many causes of inflammation, environmental factors. So anything that's like processed or totally foreign to the body's going to react. And that reaction is the reaction of inflammation or trying to fight with whatever's coming at us. So processed foods, vegetable oils are inflammatory, poor air quality, poor water quality, cleaning products, skincare products, environmental toxins around us that we need to be careful of just in our overall environment. And then, of course, food. There's a lot of foods that are inflammatory. So when we look at that, I just ask everyone to look at their kind of mix of what they're doing and say, where can I reduce the inflammatory factors in my life and put myself on a healthier path overall?
So I would imagine that most people, especially once you get, kind of, I'm in my late 30s. Once you're at that age and older, like I've already noticed these same signs you're looking at here. Like these things sound familiar to me already, in the sense that this is kind of what life feels like as you age. And I think to your point about recognizing, wait a minute, this is a problem, but I can actually be part of the solution here. And that's the part I think that's the most encouraging, is that we can do a lot to change these things. So I want to dig into that as far as what's the primary thing you would do when someone says, okay, I am inflamed, I have these issues. Where do you start someone on a path to shift their lifestyle and habits to be on a better track here?
My 3 top approaches are food, exercise, and sleep. And it sounds pretty basic, but that's because it kind of is. The body, as we approach, I'm in my 40s now, I wake up sometimes and I'm like, ouch, why during my first step do my feet hurt like that? I guess I have to walk differently now. Something is wrong. And I laugh at myself when I have that thought because I'm like, oh, you know better. That's called plantar fasciitis. Itis means inflammation. You have to find a solution. And so my first approach is turmeric, just because my master's was in Ayurvedic sciences, my PhD was in turmeric, so I'm obsessed with turmeric. I go to that first because I want to just hit inflammation and get it down as fast as I can, just get the result. Then I go and say, okay, am I exercising enough? Am I lubricating my joints? Have I built a body that's processing through, clearing my lymphatic system, clearing my inflammation in a way that I am building vibrant health every single day? So I make sure my workout plan is in place, maybe more yoga if I need more support in that direction. And then after that, I go for food. So what kind of foods are we eating that are so inflammatory to us that we're causing daily inflammation? And it doesn't matter then what you're doing to reduce inflammation if you're constantly piling on top. So the top 5 inflammatory foods are gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol, and for some people, red meat is hard to digest. So it's about looking at what is inflammatory to you, what is going to cause trouble in your system, and one by one, eliminating those foods for 2 weeks and just testing the theory. Is that inflammatory to me? And then the number 3 biggest one is sleep. Everyone thinks they sleep fine. And I would propose that everyone measure their sleep and really look at improving their sleep scores. And then we can have a conversation about how phenomenally sleep can support us on this journey as we try to achieve all of our dreams.
In terms of a sleep score, do you have any specific apps or tools you use for that?
Sure. So for sleep, I recommend the Aura Ring, Oura. I think it's a phenomenal tool. I use it and all my friends and family have started using it. Or if you don't want to spend as much as that, you can get a Fitbit, and a Fitbit alone will track your sleep. And then once you see that sleep, I like to sit down with people and look at what are the disruptions in your sleep. Is it temperature of your room? Is it your bedding? Is it, the culture inside your home? Do we need to shift things? Because according to Ayurveda, sleeping 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is twice as effective as sleeping all the other hours of the night when it comes to clearing inflammation and clearing sleep. And that's a big deal because a lot of us have so much we're trying to accomplish, we will push sleep back. But 10 to 2 is when we're really going to get the most effective sleep for our bodies. And so I really encourage people to reverse their sleep schedule back out of the midnight and 11 o'clock and get as close to 10 as you can.
That's very interesting. I've never heard that before, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if people have been following, their own 5 a.m. miracle, they're probably going to bed around 9 or 10 p.m. already. But, if you're not, your schedule is off. I like this idea that there are optimal hours of the night we can get more value from. That's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of Ayurveda itself, what do you lean on there to help with inflammation?
So Ayurveda is its own entire toolkit. And within it, we have nutrition, detoxification, sleep. We teach a lot about circadian rhythm. We teach about the digestive fire and building that to be this phenomenal fire that helps us absorb and assimilate all the good things and get rid of all the bad things in our digestive system. So I would say from Ayurveda, I pull in circadian rhythm a lot. I like to explain to people that there's a rhythm that we live by with nature. And if we can get in tune with nature, if we can wake up in the morning and let the sun kiss our skin, that's us tuning into our circadian rhythm for the day first. So whether you're waking up at 5 a.m. or any other time in the morning, just kissing the sun, saying, hey, sun. So maybe it's your morning coffee. Maybe it's that first glass of water before your coffee that you take outdoors for that few minutes. So the body adjusts. Then throughout the day, really timing your meals and eating on a schedule that supports the body to stay inside of a rhythm. I teach something called tea time is me time. I want everyone to pause at different times of your day. It could be coffee or it could be tea, but really pause and check in with yourself. Ask yourself questions like, how do I feel right now? And let your intuition answer you. That's you taking these anchor points and building in pauses so you can have a slot to even do your healthy habits, such as hydration, such as taking your supplements, such as taking turmeric or anything else you're taking for your health. And these self-care rhythms end with evening rituals for self-care. And then finally, the self-care rituals you do to sleep, like a deep sleep tea or whatever pieces you can fit in to train the body and mind that it's time for bed. Because a lot of times I don't know about you, but as an entrepreneur, I just go and I'm in my business all day. I am thinking about it every minute. When I'm on social media, I'm like, oh, I need to send that to my team on WhatsApp. We need to build that video too. That's epic. And so I can't shut my mind down until I start those evening rituals of read a book, drink my deep sleep tea, check out of work and life for the day, and then I get better quality sleep than before.
That's the issue for me, is that my brain is always on. So when you're mentioning things like tea time is me time, I'm thinking, well, I don't prioritize health in that way. And I know that I should. Like, I feel this pull to say, in my busy day, I got 1,000 things going on. Like, how do you shift from someone who is, always that busy to someone who, prioritizes these healthy rituals? Like for you, Shivani, is it a top of mind, like to-do list for today? Like, I'm going to take care of myself today, and here are the things I'm going to do. Or is it more baked into your rhythms now?
I have a carrot in front of me called I don't want to be diabetic like my family. I watched my family, every time I landed in India, somebody would pass away of the advanced stages of diabetes. And so that is such a loud message in my mind that it is probably a negative driver, but it is a driver that keeps me on a certain track. What's interesting is I'm trying to scale my company right now, and it is crazy. It is work like I've never worked before. It is travel like I've never traveled before. And so it's, I would say, 10 times harder to keep the healthy rituals in place. And it's a weekly conversation with myself where I say, you know what? I know that there's so much work and opportunity and leads, but you have to work out, and you have to, or in the end, You're not going to have the energy you need to keep going. You're not going to feel good. You'll get sick, and that's going to stop you from working. So you have to keep the rituals in place. So every week I am kind of right now having that conversation of no matter what, the workout will not get kicked out of the schedule. And then when it comes to tea time is me time, there's certain things I do to make it easy to be healthy, and I have to keep it easy. So I recommend keeping your supplements not just at home on the kitchen counter where you can see them, because nowadays we want these like beautiful, clean looking modern spaces. I keep my messy supplements right on the kitchen counter near where my keys are. So it's like, oh, I'm about to grab my keys to leave. Oh, let me just stop and pop a couple supplements that I'm supposed to take, like my probiotic and my supplements, and then I'll be good. Or I'll also keep the same set of supplements at work on my desk. So when I pause to hydrate or whatever I pause for, they're right there and ready. And I keep a tea kettle directly behind me. So my desk is in front of me. My second desk is behind me. My tea kettle with my tea, with my honey, with my spoons, with my teacups are right there. So I don't have to walk to a lunchroom to do that. And I'm thinking of putting a water cooler within 5 feet of my desk too, because I've noticed I never hydrate because I have to get up and go there. And I don't want to break my concentration. I don't want to break my focus. I don't even want to lose 5 minutes in my workday. So I think it's so much about how do you make it so convenient to yourself that the thing you have committed to is in front of your face, and you can do it while you're on the phone. You can do it in between your Zoom calls in that 3 to 5 minutes we leave ourselves to do something. I think it can be that easy, and only then does it become a habit, become a rhythm. And then when you don't maintain the rhythm, you feel like crap. So you're going to go back to doing the rhythm.
I think that's the core message, making it easy. Like that's the thing, right? Like I remember in my last day job, I brought in a water cooler and I had that at my office because I knew it was valuable back then. I may work from home now, so I have the same water cooler in my kitchen, so it's still nearby. But I love this idea of saying, like, if this is a thing that I value, that I know is helpful, whether it's supplements or water or, just those rhythms, if they're built in and they're right there, like it's impossible to ignore them. And I feel like I know for myself, when I'm off my rhythms, like that is such an easy way to get back on them, is make it impossible to ignore. I love that solution.
Yeah, and I think it's also about really choosing to invest in your tool. So I have a toaster at my office. They would have only had a microwave in the lunchroom, but I don't microwave my food. So I was like, listen, I need a $30 toaster in here too. And now this week, I was like, it's summer. I should probably buy an ice machine. And I know that sounds weird. It's like you're turning your office into your home. But if I'm at my office 8 hours a day and the only way I'll hydrate is if my water's cool and refreshing, isn't it better that I spend $30 on an ice machine and accomplish my health goal than have friction with it and not accomplish it?
I totally agree. I feel like that reducing friction for me feels like what's the answer, right? Your idea before about having, like, the Oura Ring or the Fitbit for sleep. It's taking something that's a struggle and just saying, here's a tool, here's a simple solution, have it on me all the time, and then the data is there, the answer is there, like the tools are readily available. And that is such a huge leap forward. I think for those like myself, especially in those busy seasons, like you just mentioned, you're scaling your company in these real busy times. For me right now, it's my 2 young girls. Like my life is just hectic every day. Like making it easy in the middle of the chaos, to me, seems like if you can master that, then when things are easier, when your life slows down, well, then it's going to be no big deal at all.
Exactly. And when you're in those easier times, that's your time to double down. So I was thinking also this week, I was like, wow, you haven't gone for acupuncture, chiropractic, infrared sauna, like where'd all that go? And I thought, oh, okay, you've been traveling for 8 weeks. Like, of course, this is that season. But the minute things slow down a bit, can you give a half day again to profound self-care or radical self-care to reinvest in rebuilding my stress resilience, rebuilding the whole body to be optimal and vibrant again, so that when a busy season comes again, you're rock solid and ready for it. So I think we have such a powerful opportunity to invest in our health as much as possible when things are normal. Like when life is normal, I actually deeply appreciate it. I'm like, hey guys, my kids are healthy. My schedule is routine. This is pretty phenomenal. I know that you guys live for like the vacations and the epic stuff, but when life is normal and everyone's okay, that's my time where I can go and fit in so much self-care and triple down and do my morning rituals better and all those things. And then when life is hectic, I just strip it down to what's mandatory, which is, like I said, exercise, keep the sleep awesome, focus on nutrition, but maybe go 80-20 with it. It doesn't have to look perfect. Supplements on board so my body is strong and healthy, and then hydration. So it's really about like, where can I focus to win versus us constantly. I don't think as high achievers, we have the bandwidth to always consider health number one. And that's me saying that. I'm a health nut and I teach health. But even I myself, when I'm trying to grow my business, can't keep health as the number one priority. But I can keep it at a level that I'm not going to let that ball drop, because the punishment in the long run is way too great and not worth it.
That's so true. I mean, for you, and to that whole point there, like I teach productivity and have for years, and I burned myself out years ago and had panic attacks and this whole really bad season, and I felt very hypocritical, teaching productivity while also like destroyed myself at the same time. And I feel like those kinds of wake-up calls are, those are the most obvious ones. But to your point about when life gets normal, that's exciting, I feel like that is what I live for now. I'm dying for a normal day. Like, I wish I had a boring day. Like, that would be awesome. And I haven't had one in months or maybe even years. I don't even know. Like, it's been a long time. But when those days do happen, like, that is such an opportunity to, like you said before, to double down on the things you care about. I feel like that's what sets the tone for all the busy seasons that are coming up, is that you know what you value when life is slower.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you've mentioned before turmeric. It's your favorite, probably food in the world. I want to dig into that a little bit deeper, as well as its connection to inflammation. So can we go there now?
Sure. So what people don't realize is most of us have chronic low-grade persistent inflammation. Most of us have gut dysbiosis, if not all of us. Half the population has leaky gut, if not more. So there's a lot of big issues going on. And it's just a testament to us living in modern day society, us leaning on modern day tools and just going at a pretty rapid pace. And so that's okay. We live in modern day society, but what can we do to keep our baseline inflammation lower so that the body can still communicate well, so our hormone system can stay healthy and, interconnected in a good way, so that our gut can stay healthy and do all the jobs we're really expecting it to do without supporting it enough. So that's where I look at turmeric as a very powerful solution. Turmeric is a sister to ginger. Like that, these two herbs are such powerhouses. And oftentimes we all look at superfoods as that solution. And here in the West, we just don't have the awareness that Ayurvedic medicine, which is 5,000 years old, had all these powerful super herbs and super spices that, in my opinion, are even more potent, because they significantly reduce inflammation. They're significantly gastroprotective. They're adaptogenic. Turmeric also helps with neurocognitive. It increases blood flow in the body. So a lot of the time we're taking nitric oxide to increase blood flow for a number of reasons: sexual health, heart health, everything. Turmeric will increase the blood flow for us as well. So I take turmeric because it's so anti-inflammatory. It's also an immune modulator. So it is antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. It's also a powerful antioxidant. So when we talk about inflammaging, what I hear from people the most is, I'm getting tired, my body hurts, I'm sore, I wake up stiff, everything is stiffer. And that's just oxidation. That's just us rusting over time. And if we took powerful antioxidants that prevented oxidation, we wouldn't feel that way. We could potentially feel younger as we age. And that's my goal. I want to feel so vibrant that I feel better year after year. And so what I like to share is, out of all of the turmeric plant, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids. Out of those 3 curcuminoids, the one curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. So 90% of the time we're out there buying supplements, buying turmeric, and we're wasting our time and we're wasting our money because we're not getting it in the most potent form. So after I finished my PhD, I embarked on this journey and I had a theory. Can I create a turmeric that's so potent that in orthopedic medicine and all these systems of medicine, instead of giving us NSAIDs and ibuprofen, could they have given us a natural solution instead? And I built it about 7 years ago. So we have 7 years of data and tens of thousands of people who took it. So we've already proven that that's true, that for chronic joint pain, you can take a turmeric solution. You don't have to take the other stuff that gives you side effects. And so I approached it from the pain area first, just because when we're in pain, we're more open to trying anything that works. And now my bigger message is, okay, we proved that to be true. Now let's have this conversation of, we're all inflamed. How are we going to support ourselves daily on this journey?
This sounds like a magic pill, like the way you've described turmeric. But I think that's kind of the power of natural products in general, is that they have impact not just one area, but so many. Like, I feel like I've been down this road many times before where I've dug into all kinds of natural therapies. I hear that same message again and again, that these types of solutions, like turmeric or even just taking a nap, have so many profound benefits that we overlook. Like, what was it for you that made turmeric so obvious that this was a thing you wanted to dig into?
For me, it was the fact that it's such an immune support. So growing up, I was sick all the time, and I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur who made an impact on the world. And I thought, how am I going to do that if I'm a weakling? And anytime I do anything, I get on a plane or I go to a party, I fall sick. Like, this is not going to work. I have to build a constitution that's bulletproof. And so that's where I thought, okay, if turmeric will guard my immune system, that's what the direction I'm going to go. And also, if inflammation is a root cause of diabetes, I have to address that issue, or I will inevitably end up like my family. So to me, I think we have to look at what are the tools in our toolkit that we're going to invest in daily that are going to give us the support we need so we can stay in the game, so we can play the game at a bigger level, and then so we can invest in the longevity of us getting to play the game. And that's how I really look at it, is I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm here to do this for many decades, but I want to do it without burning out. I want to do it without literally burning my candle at both ends, where in the end, I end up being nothing because I burnt myself in the process of trying to help people. And then how do I truly triple down on enjoying the journey too? Because when I work like this, when we're in these modes of scaling and growth, I feel like I'm running on an empty gas tank. And I don't like that feeling. I want to come at it whole and rested and ready to use everything I have, my brain, my heart, every energy cell I have in my body for the cause. And so that's where turmeric was so attractive to me. I was like, wow, it really is that solution. And now that I've had more experience with it, what I'm seeing is when our body absorbs it, it goes so quickly to the cells that need it the most. And once it solves all the bigger itis type issues in the body, it goes after a lot of smaller issues. So people call me and say, you cured my gingivitis. You cured all sorts of weird things in me that I didn't even know I could have solved. I thought I was going to live with that thing forever. So I really like that it can go in there and do so much more than we expected. And now I'm part of this new research team that's researching, why is it that turmeric is so well, it has the ability to connect to so many different genes in our body, more so than any other plant that they've seen. So now we're on this journey, me and this team, to understand why, how many genes does it turn on and off in our body. So it just happens to be one of those gifts from Mother Nature. You know, I think ashwagandha is another one. Ginger is another one. Moringa, I hear 50 great things about. So turmeric's my favorite, but I do think that Mother Nature has given us phenomenal tools that are healing to the body. We just have to use them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's a lot of options out there when it comes to this stuff. I think that's one thing that I know is a bit confusing sometimes when you look at, well, all these different possible supplements to take. Like, where do I even start? I like the fact that you kind of nailed this down here, where turmeric is a great place to begin in terms of the massive impact that it has. And speaking of that, I know with you and your company, with Fusionary Formulas, that you have been working with for such a long time. Can you tell our audience more about the work you're doing there?
Sure. So I created it with that ethos of, I don't want to be given painkillers anymore because I don't do well with them. I needed a natural solution for myself. And now that we've been able to prove that in one area of medicine, I'm going after all the others. I call on chiropractic, functional medicine, primary care doctors. To me, all of medicine has this unique opportunity. They are the people we run to when we're sick and when we're not well. And so to be able to just add one more tool into their existing toolkit that they're going to use with us is so powerful. And then as I got to start speaking and writing books on the topics of inflammation and health, it ended up being that everyone knows me as the turmeric girl. And so we let people, order directly off of our website as well. I have thousands of people who are on auto ship with us because they don't want to take ibuprofen and NSAIDs for their chronic joint pain. And they know that that other stuff has side effects. So they order ours. So to me, it's an incredible journey to get to be an entrepreneur. If you left me to my own devices, I would sit in my lab and just keep creating new formulas. I created the turmeric inflammation formulas. Then I went for sleep, because if we don't sleep well, we're not going to clear inflammation. So I made a sleep tea and a sleep bilingual drop formula that helps people get sleep. And if they wake up in the middle of the night, they can take it to get the rest of their night's sleep, which I find very effective because I need great sleep to do everything I want to do. And then as people have problems, we're developing a new calm anxiety tea, like a tea to just calm us down in the evenings as we're trying to wind down from our hectic, productive days. So I kind of create what I need and what I hear people need. And then I made one for menopause, perimenopause, because that was a big complaint that was affecting women's sleep. And I thought, okay, I still have to fix your sleep if I'm going to fix your inflammation. So that's kind of how I look at it, is how do I build potent, clean, pure things for the world that help us on our path to living a preventive lifestyle.
I think that's such a big shift that I had, the idea of prevention. Like that was my late 20s Jeff and my late 30s Jeff are two very different people. And I feel like I've made a huge shift towards this idea that, like your point before, if we want to live for decades in the future and thrive in those decades, we have to change what we're doing now. And I feel like what you're creating here, like that's an amazing toolkit of options for things that can give us such a huge leg up in that journey. So thank you for doing the work you do. I really appreciate it. I think there's a lot to pull from that. And before I wrap up, I do want to ask you, is there anything else about inflammation itself that you want to mention today?
Yeah, inflammation is so persistent, like I said. And I think we don't realize, one of my advisors gave me this example. He said, in our 20s, we kind of turn on the light switches of inflammation in the body. We go through our lives with a lot of stress, getting into college, getting into our first careers, pulling all-nighters, maybe drinking maybe a little more alcohol than we should, poor diet, eating all sorts of things because we are invincible in our 20s. So we really don't have to think about it. But unfortunately, we flipped on these light switches of inflammation in our body. And so those are on. There is inflammation going on in the system. We don't notice it at all because we're in our 20s. Come into our 30s, we hear a few more signals. We're like, oh, I feel different. This is different. I guess I can't party like that anymore. I can't do those things anymore. Go into our 40s, again, big shifts. And each decade, I hear more and more about how earlier and earlier, we're feeling those symptoms of aging. We're feeling things in our body that we never felt before. And also, I would highlight that as we're seeing autoimmunity and so many metabolic diseases come down the pipeline earlier and earlier, I just think it's important that we acknowledge that inflammation is this culprit. It's this silent killer. It's this slow burning fire in our system. And if we just notice the signals and ask a different question of ourselves, instead of every time it's aging, say, is it inflammaging? Do I have a new plan I can put in place that would fight this, so that I don't keep stacking on these symptoms that are slowing me down from being my most productive self, my most sharp self, my most energized self as I go through life? Because to me, when you're a high achiever, you're here to do good things in the world and build big things. So I'm here to help keep you on that path so you can go faster and bigger, because that's the path I'm on, is let's keep going. But I don't want anything like inflammation and disease to slow me down. I don't think that that's something that has to slow us down. We have such control over that.
Totally true. I mean, that's the story here, right? If you want to do big things, you have to be healthy to do those things. And if you don't have your health, the big goals are not going to happen. So yeah, Shivani, this is awesome stuff. I love talking to you. There's so much value here in terms of just being intentional with your health and using these natural therapies we have available to us all the time. So yeah, thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And for the action step this week, change your perspective on aging, or inflammation, or inflammaging. Shivani's advice on reducing inflammation is spot on. Change up your diet, fitness, and normal routines for a few weeks to see if you can't literally feel the difference. It doesn't take long, and the rewards are absolutely incredible. jeffsanders.com/497 is the place to go for the episode notes. And of course, subscribe to or follow this podcast in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's all I've got for you here on the 5 a.m. Miracle Podcast this week. Until next time, you have the power to change your life. And the fun begins bright and early.